welcome back to my podcast, Coffee with Kim. Thank you for joining me today again. It's always a pleasure when we spend time together. So remember, this is the time where you can just grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever you have in your cup, sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Well, today I have another special guest. Of course, I told you all my guests are special, but I have another special guest today, and I'm not going to do a lot of introduction because she's going to tell you everything about what she's got going. But today, my very special friend, a very special sister in the Lord, Darlene Burke, the founder of 10 Toes In, is with me today. She does a lot of work with reentry and relationships. She's really a relationships coach. So today we are welcoming Darlene Burke. Welcome to the show, Darlene.
Oh, thank you, Cole. I appreciate the golden opportunity to be in your presence and to conversate with you today.
Thank you. So, Darlene, before you tell us about 10 Toes In, I like my audience, the listeners, to know just a little bit about my guests. So just tell me just a little bit about you. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you come from? What was important to you back in the day?
All right. Well, let's see. First and foremost, grew up on 35th and Budlong, South Central, Los Angeles. Grew up as the only child of a single mother. Grew up as the only grandchild. And I'm a mother of 3 wonderful children and 2 beautiful granddaughters who are my heartbeat.
Yes, they are.
Yes, and also I'm a very proud member of Church One in North Long Beach. So
that's right.
I gotta put that in there because I love my church.
yes, indeed. Thank you for that. Thank you. You know, I love you so much because you are always down. I mean, when I first met you, I was thinking about this as I was preparing earlier this morning. I said one of my most favorite memories about Darlene was when she first came to Church One. She came into, she made an appointment and came into Bishop's office, and she basically interviewed us. I just got tickled by that because I said, how many people come in and interview you to say, let me check you out and see if you the kind of pastor that I want to be leading me. I thought that was fantastic.
Yes, ma'am, because here's the thing. And Church One checked every last box on the list. So that's why I am still there and joined unintentionally on 10-10-10. So I remember my anniversary.
Wow.
So right after your birthday, Cole.
Right after, yes.
Because you're October 9th.
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yes.
So there it is.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And we have been enjoying you as a member ever since.
Well, I have been enjoying you and Bishop in my church family. But I want to thank my girl Ramona for introducing me to you guys.
With her sweet stuff. I miss her.
Yeah, she's the reason why I'm there.
So Ramona, if you're listening, girl, we miss you.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. So, Darlene, you are the founder of a very interesting organization. I don't know if there is one like it anywhere else. And if there is, I don't know of it. But it was something that I had no knowledge of myself or my husband when you first came to us, with what you were doing or what you were going to do. And we were kind of like, okay, we didn't know much about it. But I think the thing that sold me was your passion and your dedication, to what you knew was needed for this particular group of people. And so I want you to tell my audience today about your organization, 10 Toes In.
Okay, thank you, Cole. Mm-hmm. So I was involved with my best friend of over 35 years. Wow. So basically, we grew up together, right? Me on 35th and Budlong, him on 36th and Catalina, and we were friends, right? I was like a big sister to him.
Wow.
And I felt as though it was my job to keep him away from the elements in our neighborhood. So I would take him to UCLA where I attended. I would take him to Malibu and different places like that. So that's how we were able to cultivate our friendship. So time went on. I got married, had kids, and he was doing his thing. Unfortunately, at the age of 22, he got caught up in a first-degree murder rap.
Wow.
And he was convicted and sentenced to 25 years to life in a California state prison.
Wow.
So during that time of him being incarcerated, I would visit him, and we fell in love during those visits. And it wasn't intended. It wasn't expected. It wasn't sought after. It happened.
Wow.
And while in that 8.5-year relationship, I searched high and low for a support group for women like me.
Wow.
And when I say women like me, I'm talking professional women, educated women who were just about taking care of their business, their families, but also soldiers for their men. And unfortunately, I could not find what I was searching for because I wanted to actually go into a sacred space and be with other women, not online, not via Zoom, none of that. I wanted that, that warm and fuzzy feeling.
Okay.
And so could not find it. So he had friends who he had cultivated relationships with behind the wall. They had female partners, and me and those partners got together, and we would do dinner, and we would talk about our journey with our men.
Wow.
So that started February of 2014, February 8th.
Yeah.
And it was cool. We got together, we chilled, we, as I say, chopped it up, and it was cool. And May of that same year, he and I broke up.
Wow.
And I tell people this story all the time. It's like, what do I do?
Yeah. I'm
faced with this huge dilemma. What do I do? Because now the person who I co-created 10 Toes In with, we're no longer together and not really on good terms because of the breakup.
Wow.
But God, he said, listen here. It's not about you, Darlene.
Wow.
I put you in this position to bless other people through your pain.
God,
and
like
so
he'll set you up like that.
He'll set you up. And I couldn't say anything because this is my boss. This is my ultimate boss, right? He placed me in this position. So I'm like, okay, so let's keep pushing.
Right.
So June of that same year, we did our first empowerment event at the Doubletree Hotel in Carson, because I lived in Carson at the time. And we had 26 individuals attend that meeting. And it was me and the sisters and two of our brothers, which included Chris Marino, who was a member of our church. Everybody got up and we spoke our truth and we gave our testimony. So nothing else happened after in that year, because that was 2014. January of 2015, we became a 501c3.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we started doing quarterly empowerment events. And then we started having in 2016 our sister support group meeting, which is where my church, Church One, allowed us to meet in our fellowship hall.
Yes.
So that's kind of like how everything snowballed. Cole, I had no plan, no objective to start a 501c3. That's not what I wanted. I knew nothing about a 501c3. I didn't know how it operated. None of that.
Wow.
But God was like, where I guide, I'm going to provide.
Yeah.
So you're going to have.
Who made that suggestion to you about the 501c3?
You know what? I can't even tell you, but I can tell you who made the suggestion about the name 10 Toes In.
Yeah, I want to know about that.
Yeah, this young lady who was a part of 10 Toes In, I used to always use the phrase 10 Toes In. Now, in our neighborhood, in the hood, they say 10 Toes Down,
Okay,
right?
okay.
10 Toes Down. So I would say 10 Toes In, because 10 Toes In meant loyalty, committed. You're not straddling the fence. If you all in, you 10 toes in, right? So that's where, because in this type of unique relationship, you got to be 10 toes in.
Yes.
You got to be. It's so much that goes into it.
Yes. Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, we've been pushing.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I know when you first started this organization, I know, like most of anything, nothing went just perfectly.
I know.
And we do learn from our struggles. We learn from our mistakes. What can you tell me, something that you experienced, while creating this organization for people to get help? What are some things or something that you experienced that was more challenging than you expected it to be?
The financial support, funders recognizing 10 Toes In as a legitimate organization. Support from your peers.
Tell me about that, because that's interesting to me. Tell me about how your peers received you when you started this organization.
So when I say my peers, I'm just talking about people in general that you thought would be supportive of you, right? Meaning even as trivial as Facebook posts. You would think that people who believe in you, people who support you, people who are like, oh, that's a great job. You would think that they would comment on your posts. You would think that they would like your posts or love your posts. And, sometimes that becomes a little frustrating because I know, being a businesswoman, funders, they look at your social media posts. They look at how many folks are engaged. They look at, unfortunately, the likes in the comments. I know that we're helping, but we need for you to say that on social media platforms. So I don't get that as much as I would like to. But this is what I've had to understand. You can't focus on men, right? You can't focus on other people. You have to stay focused on your why. Why did I create 10 Toes In? Why is this an important organization that is going to impact communities, that is going to impact the prison system?
And right? Darlene, when you first started your groups for the sisters that would come to the fellowship hall at the church, I remember, there was just a few ladies that would come. And then I think your meetings were like on the same night as something, a choir rehearsal or something. And I remember walking in one day, or driving up actually, and the parking lot was packed. I mean, of course I had a place to park, but because, but just thinking like, wow, from the time she started this to this moment now, so many people have joined or are, coming to these meetings. This is really something that's needed for a community of people who are dealing with something that everybody's not dealing with, a relationship that everybody is not necessarily dealing with, the type of relationship dealing with someone who you don't interface with in person every single day. So you have to have some real skills to be in a relationship with somebody like that. So tell me, what are some of the things that the sisters deal with, that you're able to help them with?
Well, one of the things that they deal with, let's say, for instance, they're involved with someone. Most of our brothers are lifers, which means they're sentenced to a life term, right, in prison, that they may not ever come home. But the ones who have done the work and the state deems them eligible to go up before the parole board commissioners to say, okay, it's time for you to come home. Yeah. Well, they can also say, no, we're not releasing you right now. So that can be devastating to the sisters because they have hope that they're going to come home, but now they don't. Well, I'm not going to say they don't have hope, but they're disappointed because they don't come home when they think that they will. Okay. Another challenge is, prison is just very unpredictable. Yeah. So a sister can have a scheduled visit to go see her loved one, and then they find out there's been a riot or a melee on the yard, visiting is shut down. And more recently, of course, COVID. COVID has shut down a lot of programming. Fortunately, here in California, we have family visits. So the family visits are when a prison allows an incarcerated person to have visits with family members, meaning their children, their parents, their partner, and they can go to the prison for 2 to 3 days and be in a cottage on the prison grounds, but be able to spend that quality time with their partner.
I didn't know that.
Yes, ma'am. So I think there's only 3 states that does it. I think New York is one, maybe Mississippi, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a handful of prisons that do it here in the United States. So they will get disappointed when something like that happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know that you do some teaching for as it relates to relationships. I would consider you to be a relationships coach. And it's amazing because the information that you share with the prisoners and their loved ones is information that everybody needs. I mean, of course, some things are specific to their situation, of course, but communication is communication, and honesty is honesty, and faithfulness is faithfulness, no matter what side of the wall or you are on. So tell me about some of the classes that you've shared or some of the information that you've been providing for, your members.
Well, like you said, the staples of a healthy relationship is having effective communication, honesty, integrity, and all those things. But when it comes specifically to a relationship that is with an incarcerated or a formerly incarcerated man, it's different. Right? Because you got to take into account this person who is coming from a very traumatic environment where respect is very important, but it's a totally different definition behind the wall versus beyond the wall. Okay. So the respect in prison is built off of fear, right? You don't want to step on anybody's shoe. You don't want to walk into the wrong area on the yard. You don't want to look at somebody a certain way because that can cause a melee, a riot, a stabbing, a death, right? So when the brothers come home, they are wired a certain type of way.
Yes.
And a lot of the issues or complaints that I receive in the relationships is that the brothers will be like, I don't like how she talks to me. So now the tone and the language become very important because the brothers, you may say something that you have no idea that you feel is offensive, but for them, it's offensive because of the environment they just came from. And so even if you say, well, where are you going? Now they think you're trying to control me.
Wow.
You're trying to control me. So it gets turned around.
Okay.
So those are things that we talk about in my relationship workshop. Okay. Because I have to get the women to understand that although this is key, when they talk to them on the phone, when they see them in the visiting room, when they spend time with them at family visits, our brother is going to show you the very best version of him.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So now When he comes home, you're able to see the true blue version of the man who you've either married behind the wall or you have been in this long relationship with.
Now let me ask you this question about that. This is very interesting to me. So, when a brother is released and he comes home, is there a honeymoon period where he's still on his best behavior, or does that just cut off once he crosses over?
Okay. Number one, I'm going to just give you let's go to the backstory a little bit. So when they come home, they're very overwhelmed. You might have a few, very few, that it's a very smooth transition. But for the majority of them, it's overwhelming because it's a brand new world.
Yes.
My brothers have done between 15 to 43 and a half years in prison. If you're gone for 6 months or a year, things have changed.
That's true.
So can you imagine? So our sisters, when they go meet them at the gate, they're thinking honeymoon, let's kiss, let's embrace, let's go to the beach. He's not thinking like that. He's thinking, first of all, let me look around and make sure they didn't make a mistake in letting me out.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like they're going to come and get me and put me back in. So these are like his thoughts. Then in his mind, he has to figure out, my God, I'm now home. There are expectations of me, right? There is expectations from my partner, possibly from his children, his parents, his siblings, his friends, his cousins. Sometimes it's a challenge with our brothers to balance.
Yes.
So when you have all of those thoughts in your mind, it's tough to kind of be in that honeymoon stage.
Wow.
And let me tell you, as a woman, and this is what I teach our brothers, as a woman, we thrive on attention.
Yes.
We want to feel special.
Yes.
We want to feel safe and protected.
Yes.
Okay? And so when we don't get that, that becomes a problem for us. And these sisters have sacrificed, have driven 200, 300 miles to see their men, have accepted collect phone calls, have gone to these family visits, have had to look cute and have their money ready for it. There's so much sacrifice. And we're not even talking about the men are not there when someone dies, when someone gets married, when there's a graduation, when I'm just coming home. Yes, and when I'm just coming home and I'm feeling beat down by my job or just the outside forces, he's not there to rub my feet and bring me a cup of tea.
Wow.
You know?
You know what, Darlene? We're going to pause here and go to a commercial. But boy, this is so good. This is so good. I mean, even though I've been knowing about 10 Toes In, this one-on-one conversation with you is really, really doing it for me. So we're going to go ahead and have a break for a commercial.
Okay.
Do you have a business, brand, or even a creative idea? Pyro Media Network can help you design a strategy to make your brand impactful. Visit www.pyromedianetwork.com today to schedule a free consultation. Pyro Media Network, next level media.
Okay, so we're back from our commercial. Thank you so much again, Darlene Burke, for being with me here today on my podcast, Koffee with Kim. Before the commercial break, we were just talking about women needing attention and women needing that emotional support when they are having traumatic things happen in their life. And you were just kind of sharing some information about that.
Yeah. And so this is the irony of it. While our brothers are still incarcerated, that's all they give them is attention. And that's why so many brothers are able to attract women, career-minded women, professional women, educated women, because these men provide what these women need. Because these women can take care of themselves. They're self-sufficient, so they don't need this money. What they need are those beautiful cards that are created and drawn in prison. What they need is those beautiful written letters, things, those phone calls to say, what can I do to put a smile on your face today? Or when they go visit them, he's pulling out the chair. He's helping to make the food at the microwave. When they go walk out on the patio, they're holding hands like they're in Santa Barbara on the beach.
Wow.
They're getting all this attention.
Wow.
But when our brothers come home, they're in thought mode. I got to provide. I got to work. I got to catch up. I got to do this. I got to do that. So it leaves very little time for that honeymoon stage.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. So what would you say the percentage, if you had to give it a percentage, what would be the percentage of relationships that survive once the person comes home?
First of all, there's not that much stats that are on this type of relationship.
Gotcha.
Now, for 10 toes in, I would say our percentage will probably range between 50 to 60%.
Okay.
Even with the support. And that's various reasons.
Yeah.
Why it doesn't. But one thing that I do teach, we talk about red flags, and I talk about not being in a toxic relationship with each other, because that's not going to do anything but bring you harm. And I don't know if you know this, Cole, but one of the number one reasons why men recidivate, go back into custody, is domestic violence.
Really?
Whether they did it or did not.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Because let's say, for instance, listen, let's say a woman says, oh, he put his hands on me, and he didn't, right? But it doesn't matter, because he has a jacket, he has a record. Yeah. So when the police come and they pull him up and they see that, they're going to handcuff him.
Wow.
And they're going to take him in because of that history. So that's why I truly emphasize to our brothers and our sisters, you have to be very, very careful of who you put on your team as your partner. You have to be very careful. You got to get to know these people. When I go and I teach our intimate relationships 101 curriculum inside of the men's prisons throughout the state of California, I tell our brothers, if you are not in a relationship or married, don't get in one. Give yourself time to come home back into society and acclimate to your new life. I'm a strong believer, I'm a strong advocate in transitional housing.
Yeah.
So that means that if a person is released from prison, most times former lifers are mandated to go to transitional housing for 6 months. There may be a few that their parole conditions don't require that. But I tell if I have a relationship with the brother or with the sister, I'm telling them they need transitional housing, because sometimes they need a place to go and woo-saw and decompress from everything. Because if you go straight home, you're going to have expectations. You're going to have things that you may be obligated to do that you really don't want to do. It's just a time, if they go to the transitional housing, they're able to, like I said, decompress, maybe start their job, just kind of get acclimated to their new environment, and then spend time with your wife or your partner during the week, or on the weekend, because most transitional houses allow them a pass to go for the weekend so that you can actually see what you're getting into. To me, it's baby steps with that.
That is amazing. Yes. So what are some of the, and for both the men and for the women, what are some of the unrealistic expectations that people have for when that time comes?
So for the women, we're going to ride off into the sunset. It's going to be a fairy tale. He's now home. We're going to be able to go to the beach. We're going to vacation. He's going to be lovey-dovey. We're going to have sex all the time. We're growing sexy on here. We're going to have sex all the time. He's just going to be my knight in shining armor. And that just does not happen for the most part. For our men, they're thinking they're going to come into a situation with our sisters where she's going to know how to talk to him, where she's going to be supportive of him, where he is going to be able to catch up with family, friends, kids, and so forth. And she's going to sit back on the sideline and let that happen without voicing anything. Just let me do what I do because I'm coming home to you. No, that does not happen. Because now she's feeling shortchanged.
Okay.
Right. I was the one riding for you. I was the one up in the prison. Where were those other people? They didn't even send you a flip. They didn't send you $1. They didn't send you anything. But this is what happens, Cole. When a person comes home, especially after doing a long stint in prison, everybody comes out the woodwork. Everybody. And they're coming out. They want to take you out. They want to buy you clothes. They want to give you money. They may want to buy you a car. All of these things, right? And so when that happens, our sisters feel like, I'm no longer your priority. I'm now your option.
Wow.
So,
there's so many dynamics that are tied to all of this.
So many dynamics.
And you've been doing this for how long now?
So I'm going to tell you, so we started 10 Toes in February 8th of 2014, but we really got started, when our 501c3 was legitimized, which was January 26, 2015.
Okay.
So we're going to say 7 years.
Okay.
7 years, going on 8.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Tell me about a time dealing with all of this, 10 Toes in, the brothers and the sisters, the different dynamics, all the education that you provide. Tell me about a time where, because we all have times of failure, but sometimes we fell forward, or we should fail forward. Tell me about a time that you failed at something related to this, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, Lord, what can I can't think of anything specifically that I failed at. I think more what I can say that I've learned from is just having expectations, right? In, being the ED of 10 Toes in, just thinking that things were going to be one way and they weren't. And I had to quickly pivot. Right. I had to quickly pivot and keep it pushing, because again, as being a servant leader, right, it's tough. I compare myself to you and my bishop and my life coach, Jewel Diamond Taylor, because all of us are servant leaders, right? Because even though we're leading, people are following, listening to our guidance and what have you, we're all about making the people who are following us better. We want their lives to be better. And it's very draining at times, right? And I, coming into this, just thought, it's going to be wonderful because I'm healthy, this, that, and the other. And then you run into situations, where you counseled this couple and you've given them all you had, and they still don't work out.
Still doesn't work out. Trust me, I've been on that end of the train. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And we're talking 3-4 hour sessions, and you're not getting compensated for that, because it's just a benefit of being a part of 10 Toes in, which I don't care about that. But my thing is, okay, my reward is y'all stay together and work this out.
It's funny. But sometimes it doesn't work that way. It's funny because one of the things I can say, in that type of situation where you're counseling and sharing and teaching people in relationships, is I had to personally learn how to value my time, number one. And then secondly, I had to learn that I could not work harder than they.
Cole, and let me tell you something. Your girl right here is there. I have had to, an artist, my partner, has helped me with this. I have had to draw clear boundaries, because I was that person when my phone rung at 10 o'clock. What can I help you with? What's going on? You okay?
Yes.
I cannot do that, because again, as servant leaders, we give so much. If we don't get replenished, we can't give to nobody or anything.
That's
right. We just cannot. So I have learned, my time is valuable. I have people call me all the time, because 10 Toes in, we're known. We're known behind the wall. We're known in the community. And people will call and say, well, hey, I heard you do counseling sessions. I said, no. I said, I do counseling sessions for individuals who are actively participants with 10 Toes.
That's good.
That is a benefit of that. Okay. And I don't go out of that scope, because my thing is this: if you're coming to the support groups the way that you should be, you may not need my counseling.
There you go.
Okay. Because you're learning proactively by being an active participant.
That's true. That's true. You know what? I've done that before myself. So I get that. Yeah. I've turned down people before, or I didn't necessarily turn them down to say we won't counsel you, but I said, you know what, do me a favor, attend at least 2 or 3 2B1 sessions, with the couples, and then let's see if you still need counseling. So I totally understand what you're saying. But you're right, the boundaries are necessary.
They are essential. And I'm with you when you said we can't want something more than the person who's seeking the help wants it.
And I was fighting for them, and they were fighting for themselves.
Yes,
and when it became when I became aware that I was fighting harder than that particular couple, it was very disappointing, but it was a great teachable moment for me. And so I had to draw back. And I even told a couple one time, we've been coming here for this many sessions, and we are here for, hours upon time, more than we should. I can't want this more than you do. So I'm going to pull back and let you guys talk it over, make a decision. If this is something you really want to do, we're giving you homework, you never do it. We're giving you books to read, you never read them. It's like we're putting all this energy and all of this work in, and you're doing absolutely nothing. You come and then, even halfway complain about giving me a very small
nominal fee or donation.
And
my time is valuable.
It's valuable.
My time is, as a consultant, I charge $200 an hour.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
To go and do workshops. And I don't feel anything about that, because I feel like this is my expertise. Right. One of my bosses told me, she said, Darlene, if someone asks you to come and speak, you always ask, are you paying an honorarium for me to do that? Yes. He says, because you will be the only one in the room not getting paid. There
you go.
Because when you love what you do, you'll do it for free.
Yes, you will.
You will.
But you shouldn't have to.
And only you know your worth.
That's right.
And only you can teach people how to treat you. Because there have been organizations in this reentry field that have tried to, quote unquote, pimp 10 toes in. I'm like, oh no. We're not going that route. No, because I know what we offer. Yeah. I know what we can do. Right. And I have to be the one to stand up and say, oh no, we're not going that route.
I love it. So we're going to start bringing this to a close. I want to ask you a couple questions, not necessarily about 10 Toes In, but just about Miss Darlene. First of all, what do you wish your younger self knew about back then that you know now?
I think that I should have been more disciplined. I should have traveled the world before having children. My grandfather, when I was the only grandchild, my grandfather was a broker for 3 insurance agencies in Boston, Massachusetts. And every summer he would send for me and I would work in his agency from the age of 10 on up.
Wow.
Waking up on Friday mornings with $100 spread across the dresser.
Wow.
Okay. So this man had me reading books like The Art of Persuasion and Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So for real.
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, he wanted me to take over his insurance agency. So maybe I could have done that. But, you know, I think the discipline, because I was just one of those people, like, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to think about the consequences.
Okay.
Right? That was with money. That was with everything. Because all of that. But today, it's like, no. Discipline and being intentional. Those are the things that I operate from now because I have so much going on.
Yeah.
And you know, one of my favorite adages is, which is on my phone, the world steps aside to let anyone pass as long as he or she knows where they're going.
Wow.
So you are your biggest enemy.
That's so true.
You are your biggest cheerleader. You're going to make it happen.
That is so true. Thank you for that. You bless me. And then the last question that I have, Miss Darlene, what do you know for sure?
I know for sure that my purpose is 10 toes in.
Wow.
That nobody, whether they try to duplicate it, copy it, or whatever, they can never do it like 10 toes in. Right. And God placed me in this position for a reason. And no matter how many valleys I see, I gotta weather the storms and keep it pushing, because I know at the end of it, there's going to be my pot of gold, my rainbows, and I'm going to be able to help a whole lot of people.
Wow. How can people get in touch with you?
So the biggest way would be our website, because that way you can see what we represent.
Okay.
tentoesin.org, and it's spelled out tentoesin.org. I'll say it again, tentoesin.org, or you can phone us at 310-612-3977. Again, 310-612-3977. And we're also on all the social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Instagram.
Wonderful. So, Miss Darlene, thank you so much again for being here with me, sharing your time. Your time is precious and valuable, and so I do appreciate it. I thank you so much for educating us today. I feel so empowered right now about some things I didn't know before today, I tell you. And so I know one thing I know for sure is that if I ever meet up with a woman who needs help in this area, I'm sending her directly to you. I know my limitations.
You know what, Carl? When you asked me to be on your podcast, it was probably one of the biggest honors that I have ever done.
My gosh.
I love you. I don't think you know how much I love and appreciate you.
I love me. I feel the love.
Yeah. And y'all already know I don't say anything I don't mean. Okay.
I know you don't, right? I know.
I absolutely do.
I know a couple people in the sanctuary that I could like look to and go, give me that look, and it'd be no problems.
I'm straight to it.
No problem at all.
You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about me talking behind your back. I'm straight to it. But no, honestly, thank you so much for this platform. And I want to also publicly thank you and Bishop for being so supportive of 10 Toes In. I know in the beginning you didn't understand it, but you still supported me, and you supported our organization. And we love you for that. We absolutely do. And whatever you need from me, you got it. Okay.
So listeners, you have been educated today. Believe me, you've been given information that I know most of you, if not all of you, did not know before today. So if you want to get in touch with Miss Darlene, she's giving you all of her information, all the platforms that you can visit and see what she's doing, the great work that she's doing with brothers who are on their way home or dealing with folks who are in relationships that one person is behind the wall. So you know what? I want to thank you for listening. I know this was interesting. You haven't heard anything like this before, right? So it was interesting yet educational. Thank you for listening. And remember, we love you, stay safe, and take care.